Heavenly Father, we come to you today, Father, thank you.
Freeman and said she has court. We're going to take her out of order. She wants to speak on, I guess, item number 2 of the policy.
Thank you very much for letting me come up a minute or two early.
Yes.
Good morning. I've got a couple of concerns about my office manager's pay. I've had several conversations with Commissioner Andrews, but I felt it was needed to share my concerns with the rest of the Commissioners Court and Judge Massengale. When Courtney took this role, I truly believed that she was starting at the same pay as the previous office manager. That's what my budget sheet showed that I received last spring, and if I had realized differently back in June, I would have addressed it then. Courtney is not just qualified as a certified civil clerk, she's dedicated, dependable, and gives her very best every day. She has stepped into this role with so much heart and commitment, and she deserves to be recognized at the same pay as the last office manager. She started as a part-time clerk, and her experience made her the perfect person to step into this role, and therefore she's deserving of this pay. I respectfully ask that her salary be adjusted to the amount that was listed on my budget, which was $42,100. That amount with the 10% increase will put her in line with the other JP office managers. That's my request today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay, now I guess we'll go back to so let's talk about, I guess, item number 1, compensatory overtime. This is the first deal. Do we have any? We do have 2 speakers on that. Mr. Copeland?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Judge. My name's Kenneth Copeland, Commissioners. I've talked on this subject before, just to refresh y'all's memory. For 30 years, I worked for the federal government, and I oversaw grants that went to the states, law enforcement agencies. Most all of those were overtime programs. So I've dealt with literally hundreds of state police, county sheriffs, and city police departments in overtime programs. When I got here, I originally came to the county, was going to help them try to work on an overtime grant with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, do more speed enforcement, more drunk driving. And that's when I discovered that there were no overtime paid to officers in Hood County. That was, in fact, the only county in all of my history of working with all these other entities that didn't pay overtime or to their officers. So that killed that program. So I've come and I've testified before y'all before asking for compensating or overtime for them. And I see in the budget now, I think you have $60,000 planned for overtime, which I'm very glad for that. My concern is it seems like it's being set up with $15,000 per quarter, and if they over exceed it, it won't be paid. And I'm just concerned that that's going to be hard to administer. I think it's going to confuse officers when they're going to get paid and when they're not going to be paid. I believe it would be easier just to, if you're going to restrict them to $15,000, pay them the ones that work overtime the first of that period, for it and then put the rest of them on comp time if that's what you feel like you need to do. I really believe $60,000 is low for what the sheriff's department does. It probably should be closer to $100,000. I checked with the city of Granbury. Their budget for their officers is $75,000 for overtime. So you're not equal to them. Unfortunately, overtime is a requirement for law enforcement. You can't get around it. If an officer makes a stop at the end of his shift, let's say he catches a drunk driver at the end of his shift, he's going to have to process that drunk driver, and that's going to be 3 or 4 hours of overtime. He can make another arrest at the end of the shift, which is going to run him into overtime. He gets a call to a disturbance at someone's home. He can't just say, well, I can't come because I'm running out of time. I got to go address that. The sheriff's department also has multiple special teams that if they're called out, a lot of times they're on overtime. So if the dive team is called out to try to recover a body or a car in the river, a lot of their time is going to be overtime. If we get into a situation with SWAT, a lot of those officers are going to be on overtime. If there's a big incident during the middle of the night where supervisors have to be called out, that's going to be overtime. So I'm just asking for the court to reevaluate the current position that you're taking on overtime, the restrictions for the quarterly amounts, to relook at that and to maybe add a little bit more to the budget to make sure the sheriff's department has the budget adequate to do the activities that they need to perform. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The next speaker is Tina Brown.
Good morning. I'm not here to talk about any specific one, but just the whole item. Bring to your attention on September 9th, there was an item on the agenda that was pulled to discuss and take appropriate action to revise the policy regarding operation and use of county vehicles. It was pulled. The next Commissioner's Court, there was an item that was also pulled, and it consists of 7 different policies, one of which was operation and use of county vehicles. And then today we have 7 more things to discuss, policies, but all of a sudden that vehicle, operation of a county vehicle, is no longer on here. So I just hope that when you discuss this, that you provide some transparency about why it was on here and why it was pulled and why it's not on here today with all the other policies. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Is there anybody else that signed up that wants to speak at this time? Is that all? Okay. Okay. Mr. Andrews, you want to?
Yeah, this, as far as the vehicle policy, there are a lot of different angles that need to be looked at there and figured out. It is a very complicated issue. There are a lot of, if you got the answers, please share them with me, because I'm looking for ideas here. I mean, it's pretty. I'm okay.
I downloaded it on 9/9 because it was available as a link, and I read it. I've gone over it. I don't see anything that needs to be changed. So I don't know what, and I don't even know what the changes are on these other policies that are up here today, because there was no link to those. So you're saying it's complicated. It's been in use for 5 years now. I think it was signed last time in 20. I'd have to go back and look at my paper because I did look at it. And all of a sudden it's complicated? That's you're being too vague. You're not being transparent. Thank you.
All right. So these policies are kind of open for discussion. We've had a lot of questions come up about these various policies, how they're applied. I don't know if we've had real strict adherence. So this was something that we've got to get in place with the new salary matrix and figure out where we're going to be with some of this stuff. There have been a lot of hours spent on this and a lot of time. And none of this stuff is in stone. We sat around and discussed these things. We looked at TAC policies and recommendations and what we should do on some of this stuff. We've looked at private sector to see how they deal with these things. And there are a lot of these things that I don't know as though I'm going to die on any hills here today. I'm open for discussion, and if things need to change, then let's talk about how to change them. One of the things, probably the biggest controversy or what have you, is regarding holiday time. Basically, holiday time is an 8-hour day for whenever the county's closed. That's kind of what the intention of that holiday pay was. We have some offices or departments that work 4 10-hour days, and then they get this 8-hour, the way that it's been done is they get an 8-hour bank of holiday pay or whatever, and then you end up throwing the department off because now you've got time that people are trying to take off outside of that holiday. So how do you deal with that? What's a way to not put these departments, these 4 10-hour day departments, into a pinch trying to cover for somebody that's taking off holiday time whenever that department wasn't even open on the holiday? So that's one of the things. Is there a way that we can kind of get these up on the screen so we can? Oh. Actually, it should be, they came from you last night, right?
Look for an email around 7 p.m.
That's the first one on my stack there, so. A lot of this, there's a big change in the holiday, the way we're doing holidays, particularly with the sheriff's office. So I called over there yesterday and said, hey, this is coming up and I would like feedback on this. This is, if we missed something or didn't think about something, or how do we deal with something? And there have been some questions come up. What we've proposed here is if you work on the holiday, if your shift begins on the holiday, so at 6 a.m. on a holiday, and you work that shift up to 8 hours, you're going to get holiday pay, or you're going to get money on that check for that holiday. If you work Thanksgiving Day, you come in at 6 o'clock and you work a 12-hour shift, you're going to get that 12-hour straight time. You're going to get 8 hours of holiday time paid on your check. It's going to be actual cash. And that's for the, was it nine holidays that we settled on? 7, 9? 9. Okay. Yeah, that's for Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. That's probably better than me trying to pull it up. Yeah, there they are. So, you know, the big holidays, those are going to be, you work on those days away from your family, you're going to get paid for that. That is on, that is cash on that check for SO, jailers, and dispatchers. So, and we had to figure out some way to make that work with the shifts being offset like that. So it's going to be if your shift begins on that holiday. So the 6 p.m., if your shift begins on that day and you come in and work the 8 hours, you'll get 8 hours of pay on your next check for that shift as well. So that's the difference with the patrol and correctional. You can see that on there. Emergency Communications Center already had a policy in place, and we decided not to mess with that one. Again, if anybody has any input, we welcome the input. For regular county employees, again, we talked about how this was intended to be pay for an 8-hour shift while the county is closed. The Commissioners Court encourages all departments to be open 8 to 5 every day. Some of them choose a little bit different method there, but all right.
I just had a question. For CID particularly, we work 410s. Some guys work Monday through Thursday, some work Tuesday through Friday. Under this policy, you know, law enforcement is a 24-hour day job.
Right.
If we got a holiday, I got a guy that works Monday through Thursday. There's a holiday on a Monday. They don't come into work. They get their 8 hours or time or whatever for taking the day off. Friday comes around, they're on call. They get called in on Friday, and now they got to work. What do we do then? Do they get 8 hours of holiday banked? Do they get paid? Well, how does that work?
This, you know, these are the kind of questions that we need to sit down and hammer out. I don't know, is anybody else? I'm tired of hearing
I'm gonna go
myself
ahead.
talk. so.
I'll go ahead. No, so if you are to, so what I'm hearing, even for law enforcement goes the total of 2 weeks.
Sure.
So if you're gonna work 410s and you hit your 80, no, you won't get any holiday banked if you don't work that holiday. Same.
Taking it off.
Right, you've taken it off. But then also with a 40-hour employee, if you're 410s and the holiday is on a Friday, you don't get the 8 hours banked. If you work 32 and a half hours, you don't get 7.5 hours banked. You get 7.5 hours to use to make your 40.
Right.
So if they're called into work, they just lose their holiday?
Well, they've already been off on their holiday.
Right.
Took Monday off.
Right.
So if they get called in on Friday, it's just regular pay.
Well, then they didn't get a day off because they had to come in and work. They lose that rest and recovery and time off
But
and
they
all
got
those things.
Monday off as the holiday, because it's a holiday.
Right.
Am I, okay.
You know, and I see your point. It's
unfair is what it is.
talked to Captain Barry on the phone about this yesterday with this particular scenario. And so what is the answer here? What do we propose?
Well, generally, if they're unable to take the holiday and they're going to go over their 80 hours to do that, or then they would bank it a holiday day and they'd burn it later when they could. I understand that we're trying to change the policy so that's no longer an option, but it's at the detriment of public safety, and surely nobody in this room thinks that they're going to flex that time off later, because if they're getting called in on a Friday, it's probably because it was a homicide or a sexual assault or something important, and we're not going to tell the victim that, hey, we'll get to your case in a few days because I got to burn this holiday off. That's not how we're going to do business. I don't think that's
Of
public
course,
safety.
we're not going to do that.
Right, so they're
Let's not take it to that. So, you know, some of this stuff, we're sitting here and so often this stuff is a blank check. We don't know where it ends. We don't know how to control the budget. See what I'm saying? So our job is we have to figure out how we can pay everything, get the job done that we need to get done, and keep it within the budget. And some of these things, like the overtime that we talked about, I know you guys have been talking about overtime. The 60,000 is basically the comp time that you've built up over the last 3 years. It was $180,000, $187,000 that we had in comp time whenever we paid it off after roughly 3 years. So the $60,000 with the $15,000 per quarter, it's a little give and take. It's a little bit of, yeah, we'll go ahead and give you the money on this, but try to, make sure that we're getting some kind of a cap on there. Make sure that we're doing something to try to manage this comp time in a better way.
And I think our administration has some new policies. I think our administration has some new policies we've been working on, and the captain been working on to kind of mitigate that. I think, from law enforcement at least, our viewpoint is we're taking away some of the holiday benefits. We're taking away, we took away several of our guys, a dozen guys step paid this year. And, it just seems like one more thing that we're stacking against law enforcement because it affects us disproportionately.
The step pay thing, let's go ahead and address that. We were talking about a 3% increase. That's 7%, those guys that were going to hit the step this year. 7-8%. We went 10. And the step, we adjusted the matrix, we moved the step to next year. So everybody that was supposed to hit a step this year, they get 10% this year. They're going to get the step next year.
Well, how do they know that? You told them they're going to get a step this year, 3 years ago, and they didn't get it. How are they going to trust that? People lie to us every day. And that's what's happened here.
I don't know.
What
was the answer? I have
to give them their step raise in addition to their 10%.
Worked my butt off to try to make you guys happy. And I think that there's a whole lot of people out there that are very happy about this. I'm hearing a lot of folks saying thank you for this. But how do we make that work? Go ahead and do the 10% and the steps?
Yes.
It's easy to stand there in your position and say that.
We're talking about $28,000. We're not talking about a lot of people. We're talking about 12 or 15 guys, whatever the number is, that 3 years ago, they stayed around for today, for 3 years to come. And they stayed, or they came back to this agency, and then we didn't do what we told them we're going to do. We said, hey, we're not going to plan a 100-yard field anymore, it's going to be a 110-yard field. Stay another year, and maybe we won't lie to you next year.
Man, Gary.
It's reality. That's the reality of what happened.
Man, yep, you're right. What do you?
And it's not too late to fix it.
Sorry, we figured out a way to make 10% raise happen.
Well, it's not. If they're already guaranteed a $2,400 increase, it's not really 10% for those guys, is it? Because they had $2,400 coming already. It's about 6% for those guys. Doing the right thing ain't that hard. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Change gears back to where we were a minute ago when I came up. So when we were looking at, excuse me, the comp time issues. So internally, we're taking those numbers from like the 60,000 that we talked about. All the work that goes into prior than that, all that flexing off of that time, you and I discussed yesterday with the, putting us down to a minimum staffing. We have our minimum staffing numbers that we feel, hey, we've got to have this to be able to serve the county. If we look at the numbers of how much comp time has been burned up over, that period of time, I see where you're coming from yesterday when we had that brief conversation. But I feel like and see that there is all of these things that are being done behind the scenes that, again, it's good for you to know as information and have to be able to make good decisions and maybe come up with ideas. But it's not as if in that 3-year period, all that comp time was acquired and actually, all that time was acquired and then some, right? So we're not looking at the time that was burn off in a whole sense to see, okay, here's where we're already being stretched. And we're at that kind of point where, you know, unfortunately in our line of work in public safety, budgets are difficult because you never know what tomorrow's going to hold for it. And I'm not one to overinflate or advocate for an overinflated budget for those types of things. But it is one of those things where you do have to have that cushion in there to be able to account for the unknowns for tomorrow. So that it was just one comment over just that, more of the comp time thing, that there is a lot that is actually done on that to flex those times off.
Right, and I appreciate that. I really do. I mean, and that's the thing that we're trying to gel these things. I mean, there is some management of that you guys can do, that you've stepped up, and we appreciate that. And honestly, I felt like this was kind of meeting you in the middle somewhere to say, okay, let's reward that effort by actually turning it into cash, and so.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I thought that this was a pretty good compromise in this particular situation.
Yeah. You know, it's definitely a starting point, I guess, if you will. I really do feel that based off of past years with that, I feel like if we're already stretched to that point, an implementation of this specific of the, 15,000 a quarter, or a quarter, I don't feel like that quite gets us to be successful in it. And it's not for the purpose of asking for more money to just hand out like candy at Halloween time, but to be able to actually fix the problem, right? I've spent a lot of time, just like many others, trying to find a way and look at this and say, hey, this is what it is. I know a committee was created, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for issues that when we have those, we look into them. But on those types of committees, you've got to bring forth the people, whether it's just one voice, to be able to say, hey, yeah, this would work for us. This wouldn't work for us. And I mean that across the board for, all county entities, if you will, because everyone is unique. I don't know what goes on in Leanne's office. I don't know what goes on in the treasurer's office or the any of the other offices other than my office, and maybe what's discussed at some point. But as part of a committee, I think you have to have those people's voices to be able to say, this is why, or this is at least the problem that I see with that. Here's a suggestion on how we could go about that. And maybe there's somebody else in the room that can then take that information at least and be able to say, yeah, that makes sense.
I'm gonna be 100% blunt and honest.
Sure.
There is no compromise. There's more. It's never enough. And I don't know, we've got taxpayers out here that this money comes straight out of their pocket. I have to be concerned about them too.
Yeah.
And if, I've always had very reasonable conversations with you, and I appreciate that, Sheriff. I've had very reasonable conversations with you too. And I feel like we talk and we work things out, and I appreciate that. But there's got to be, I don't know how to say that.
I know.
I feel like I'm just
following.
getting hammered to death on this thing, and it's like there's got to be an end to something somewhere. There has to be some compromise.
Yeah, so I'm following exactly what you, and I'm on the same page with you, right? But it's the progress, right? We always continue to make progress, and I feel like, and again, it's no fault. I'll go back for 15 years, right? It's not a generational thing so much. It's just a society thing of where we're at. And people are looking at it as, this isn't my life, this is a job. And so when there's other things that are being done, you give this kid a cookie, well, this kid's going to ask, why am I not getting a cookie, right? So there's some give and take into that. And I definitely appreciate the give and take we're trying to do. But I think it's better if we have all the minds together to really come up with those. And I know that's what we're doing today here in open court. But all the behind the scenes stuff, I mean, any of these policies, up until yesterday when I heard word of mouth, I didn't know anything that was happening, which is just concerning for me because I've got all the employees at the sheriff's office that, shoot, I've got to not make it a perfect world for them, but make it to where it keeps them on with our team and not looking at all those other teams. So, like I said, I'm open to any discussions, any things. There's not, everything that you've ever said or whatever I've shot down. There's a lot of good ideas that you've come up with, and I appreciate that. But again, just remember when we say something in return for that, it's not to shoot you down. It's to say, hey, here's something we maybe haven't thought of on that. So I appreciate that.
Right, and that's, and that was what the phone call yesterday was about.
Sure.
Is, this is,
Yeah.
let's kind of look at this thing and see. And again, I don't think any of this is in stone. If we see something that we need to change, we can come back and change it at any time. But we've got to go into the new year with these policies in place. And there was kind of a rush on this thing. We've been working on this hours and hours for months. And we had to get this thing buttoned up and wrapped up by October 1st so that we know how to go into the next year. And I am always willing to have a conversation with anybody. My door is open. Please come in and talk to me and bring these issues and let's sit down. There may not always be a nice, warm, fuzzy solution to it, but we can certainly sit down and talk about it. Sure. And see if there's something, because I don't want anybody to feel like they're not getting what's due. But I think that there's also, you mentioned it, some work-life balance in here that we need to see if we can just keep from working people to death. We talked about the minimum shift or whatever. We're 37% over that minimum shift. So you've got 3 people on a shift out of the 8 that you're still at the minimum if you're missing 3 people. So I don't know what the answer is. And are there some techniques or things that we can try to change things up, to work those shifts out a little bit differently, to help some of that, help some of the comp time and not, heck, I know you probably got some guys that want to work 60 hours a week, and I'm sure you've got others that it's 40 and hit the door. Sure. But, try to take care of the people, get it where we need to be, but also try to get a little work-life balance in there so we're not burning some folks out too. So.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, law enforcement, it's one of those career paths that, we don't expect to make it to the normal life expectancy as that, because we do take in a lot. We do see a lot, a lot of stresses that come with that. And for the most part, people that get into this profession, feel like they can be that person to call upon, right? That person that's going to be there when nobody else is there for them in some of their worst days. And so that takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
But again, it's looking at it and saying, yeah, if you've got that hardworking employee, that maybe it's not so much just that he likes to be on the clock for hours wise, he's actually coming in and making a difference. That's that one little part of that job that he's getting that, self-fulfillment out of, to being able to say, hey, I'm doing this for all the right reasons. I'm here to help out the community. I'm here to help out that specific person or whatever it may be. So sometimes that's difficult for some employees to be able to say, hey, if I'm not there, I'm not fixing the problems, or I'm not being there as a resource to help somebody. And we look at those as administration and say, hey, for the well-being of that person, we're going to give them, mandatory time off, tell them, hey, you can't come in tomorrow when you see those types of issues. But I definitely appreciate and understand, what you bring to the table and what you've brought up. It's hard sometimes to see the bigger picture of something if you're not involved in that. And I think that's where our hang up is knowing what's being done or why certain things haven't been done a certain way. I go to a lot of, or talk to a lot of different agencies, and for the most part, in our profession, guys like to work the 12-hour shifts. Mm-hmm. It gives them a little bit of time off away from it. Yeah, it's longer hours, and they're doing the same amount of work, but they enjoy that little bit of downtime, that peace, if you will. And a lot of agencies fight for 12-hour shifts to be able to give those employees off. Again, same hours, but to be able to give them a kind of a more of a reset day rather than that. So over the years, I've looked at, different hour shifts, different time shifts, but everyone actually is fighting for or are requesting and wanting to go to kind of what type of hours we're operating at, because that's good for that employee to be able to have that time off. But yeah.
Well, do you see any kind of we talked about the 8 hours and the 40-hour work week, and I know you guys are different because you've got 36 and 48s, and it gets different. So would it be better to set that to an 84-hour, 2-week period in law enforcement? That way it's not, I mean, is this a compromising step that we can look at or work towards?
I mean, certain things are done already. So when we talk about the 12-hour shifts for a 2-week pay period, for the most part, unless you're at shift minimum, there's already an 8-hour late day or an early day. For nights, they leave early because that's kind of more of a lull in the call volumes. For the days, they come in a little bit later. In the mornings, that really only affects us by school zones, those types of things. It's important to us, but we always make sure we're in those school zones and at least making it cover some way, whether it's an admin going out to that area or something like that, or a specialized unit. Street crimes, they've helped out with going to sitting in a school zone, helping in those things. But like our canines, we talked briefly about it yesterday. We've implemented several things over the years, but one of the new ones with the canines is trying to shorten their shift hours because of the canine care that they get. That's just a few examples of things that have been done, and not just here recently. Over time, I mean, I could sit and write, a whole page of things that, you're trying to make a change for those issues. But as the community grows, there's more and more that the demand is higher for certain things. Going back, like you were talking about the schools earlier, it's such a benefit for our guys to be there in the mornings when schools get started for the traffic.
There's still a 3-year gap, but I don't even understand if the guys are at year 8 now, or if they're at year 10 now, or what step they're on that new pay matrix that was approved. I have no clue what any of that means. We've now moved the goalposts on this matrix, and it's caused 12 or 15 guys to not get their step they were due this year. So 12 or 15, whatever the number was, times 2,400 came out to 28 or 32 or some, $30,000.
Because it's not 2,400 anymore. Each step now is 10% increased on top of that 2,400. So
yeah, well, it's still an insignificant amount of money to do the right thing and keep the promise we made 3 years ago. The guys just stayed around for 3 years waiting for their step. And that's what this is about, doing the right thing and doing right by the employees that stayed here and worked through that.
Man, Gary, that is so...
We don't have to agree on it, Commissioner. I understand
You're
that.
right, we don't. And it was a 10% increase. I'm like, I don't understand.
Commissioner Eagle, thank you for the
this could
10%,
be-
because Kevin was at 2 when
So-
we started the negotiations. So Commissioner Eagle, thank you very much for 10%. We are very grateful for that. That means a lot to us. It will actually put money in these guys' pockets to take care of their families. So absolutely, thank you, Commissioner Eagle, for that initiative.
So Alicia, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. This is Nanette. Sorry, I'm actually not there today, as you can see, but I'm on the call. I just want to take a minute and talk about what the court did do this year. We heard you say that you were losing holiday time, so we found a way to pay for a good portion of it so that you wouldn't lose it. We did propose a way to pay for a good portion of your comp time. The court did invest about $500,000 in a product called Axion that is a productivity enhancer that should help you with all those reports. And I have heard some of your officers say that it has drastically reduced the time to do reports. It's a pretty amazing tool. So hopefully that will reduce the comp time. And then there's probably about 50% of the fleet. I don't know if Denise is there. She can tell me the exact numbers, but about 50% of the fleet will be brand new vehicles. And on top of that, the 10% raise. And, 10% raise is really unheard of in the private sector and also in the government sector. 10% raise is well above any what I guess you would say normal raise. So I think that the court and the taxpayers have done a lot this budget, and we appreciate everything that you do, and I hope that that's coming through with what the court did with the budget this year. And I guess I did want to go back and say when Commissioner Andrews said I wanted to be sure that we sat around and did this. I wanted to be sure that it was noted that it was just two commissioners, Commissioner Andrews and Commissioner Samuelson, and then our county auditor, our treasurer, and our HR person. So those were the folks. I didn't want it to sound like we the court. So it was a group of us, but just two commissioners.
Well, here's the deal from my perspective. County government and the sheriff's office especially, their primary duty of county government is to provide for safety for our citizens. That's the number one job here. If we don't have safety for our citizens, we don't have a county. And I look at it kind of from the perspective, I guess, I'm kind of pro-law enforcement. That's no secret about me. But I remember 3 years ago when we got the step plan and talking about the officers, and we pledged that they were going to get that step plan, and that's what they were counting on, and that's why a lot of them stayed, because there was a big walkout. There were going to be 5 or 6 of them. Everybody remembers that. And we got the step plan in place, and they stuck around. Now, when we got the 10% increase, we were way behind most counties when we got it, from my perspective. That's me. And I feel like that the step plan, we should honor that for those 12 or 15 guys up there. For nothing else, if it comes out to be, everybody got the 10% raise, but these other people, they had a special deal, that step plan, for those people. You said it's 12 of them. They got it. That was their, like a union bargaining contract, if you want to look at it in the world. They were promised that. And just because everybody else got 10%, they got 10% too. They couldn't exclude them, but we should still honor that step plan.
What about the other
And
county employees?
how much would it cost?
For all the employees? Because why would we we've got a step plan for all the employees also. This whole budget, it's not 10% anymore, now it's 14. We've got the whole county, everybody in the
No,
county.
I'm
It's not
talking
just
about
law
the Sheriff's
enforcement.
Department right now. I mean, the Sheriff's Department is where the big argument is. I think that everybody else in the county, they didn't, the step plan, I don't know about the step plan anyway, but anyway, that's a different story. But it's the Sheriff's Department that we're trying to solve this problem for right now. And that's the way I look at it. They were promised that back 3 years ago. And now they're not getting it, and it's a big factor for them. And for these, let's just talk about it. I'm just me. I'm just the Sheriff's Department is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about safety for all of citizens here. How much would it cost, Kevin, for these? How many guys does it affect, Gary?
12, 15 guys, somewhere in that ballpark.
What are we talking about? $30,000?
North or south of that, yes, sir.
Is that what you figure, Commissioner?
12 people, it's 31,620, 640, something like that, so.
I'll tell you. I'm tired of the morale here, and it's just getting harder and harder to keep good people here. It was like this person, I forgot who it was that came up here that said that every time you lose a deputy, that's a $100,000 asset that the county's losing. I'd like a good morale here of all our deputies. I think they do a fabulous job. I think the Sheriff's Department here and what Sheriff Deeds has done and the loyalty that he has in his department. I mean, man, we're sitting around here and we're talking about it. No other department is complaining about it. And all other departments get the benefit from the safety that's provided by the Sheriff's Department.
Other departments are talking about it. I'm hearing it from them too.
For me, I just think that $31,000, I just think that I want to honor that. That's how I feel about it. I mean, that was promised for him back there at the step plan 3 years ago. And my vote's going to be to give it to the Sheriff's Department for that, the $31,000 for those guys.
I'm going to have to call a point of order here. We're talking about a step plan now. It's not on the agenda. Can we stay with the policies and get this done? We can talk about this with the Sheriff's Department and work on it. I'm sorry?
The matrix.
The next items are.
But we are.
The salary
you're right.
matrix?
Yeah. We are.
So we're swinging, we're going all over the map.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to.
You're right. So, okay, back to the holiday time. Is there?
Well, so as far as these policies and everything, appreciate you guys thinking about how we can fix that holiday time, because they earn it and then they can't ever take it off. So in this way, it's going to make a big difference. And then talking about overtime, but I guess it's really just a payoff for comp time. If we had the overtime, like the example that Gary used, so the guy's off all that week and gets the off for the holiday, but then he has to work during the weekend, then that's when, if he had the overtime, that'd cover for that. Because we're always going to have people on call. Unfortunately, last night we had I don't know if he was husband or just a significant other, tried to strangle his girlfriend or wife or whatever. So there's always something going on in Hood County. Some things you can stop, some things you can help, push them off, but then we have aggravated assaults, we have had shootings, we've had stabbings, we got to jump and run and we got to take care of all that stuff. It's not little old Hood County anymore. So I so much appreciate my guys that in years past, and we didn't put in the effort to really, we did put in the effort, but now we're really taking care of the problem. Jump on it, investigate it, and move on, and put people in jail that deserve to be put in jail, and help these victims. So it's always something, every day, every week. It never's on during the week. It's always nights and weekends. But anyway, I appreciate what you've tried to do with the holiday time, because that's gonna help. The 10% pay, yeah, for, all the people that I'm over, that's a fantastic thing. So I am so appreciative, and the clerks, everybody are just so appreciative of that. So it's just some little things that we're trying to work on to get taken care of. But I've got the most employees of the county, and that with the law enforcement, I need to keep these guys around. So I wish you guys could consider that. I know it's almost $32,000, but it would help. But I do appreciate the 10%. So thank you for doing that, and I'll sit down and shut up. And the other policies, that holiday deal is a good start, a good deal.
Oh, so can I ask you something? So the holiday policy, we've got 2, 4, 6, 7 policy issues here. The holiday policy, y'all are okay with it?
Yeah, it's a good deal, because then they're not going to be working it and losing the time because they can't take it off. So if they work it, they're going to get paid. So fantastic.
Okay, so we got one good thing here.
Yep.
All right, what else we got?
Okay, well, we do need to strike one line off of that. Talking to Leanne this morning, the third one from the bottom, because that's actually going to be paid.
The parentheses deal?
Yes. Yeah. Is that correct? Because that'll actually go on that check. Is that what we talked about? Okay. So that sentence needs to be stricken from the policy there. So
with that change, is it okay? I mean, do we need to do a motion and a vote on each one of these, Melissa?
That's going to be up to the court as far as how you want to handle this.
I won't vote for a blanket. It's either one-on-one or it's a no vote.
Yeah, I think we should vote on each one.
Okay, well, so have we covered holiday pay sufficiently?
I apologize. Like I said, yesterday was the first time that I had an opportunity to talk with you about it. So I just had a question. The one sentence, it's holiday time plus hours worked not exceed 80 hours in a pay period. If required to work on a holiday time or a holiday, time worked will accrue at holiday time up to 8 hours. So just so I'm understanding the purpose and the need and maybe even shedding light on something, right? So let's say that Monday, it's a holiday, right? Normal personnel are off throughout the county. You've got a patrolman that's working, or a CID that gets called in because they're working a crime scene or whatever it may be. They're going to be paid up to 8 hours for that time that they're on for the holiday, right?
yeah, so if something happens on Thanksgiving Day, you've got to call CID in for it. They will get that time when they're working on the holiday.
Following you there perfectly. Now, the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the rest of the week, if they put in over their hours, whether you look at that as 40 hours or 80 hours for the pay period, then go on the books as holiday, even though they were paid for that holiday? Is that what I'm reading by that? Does that make sense? Why wouldn't that be a comp time?
There's only so many holidays that are paid, which are right up there.
Sure.
So that'll be your double pay, up to 8 hours.
And that's only for those three.
If it's just a normal holiday, we'll say Columbus Day, then no, that's not on there, is it? Okay.
No.
If it's Columbus Day, then an employee comes in and works that day, that's when you're going to accrue that time, if the rest of your time does not make it up to 80.
Following you.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is the way it's been.
Yeah.
Sure. So that's what I was getting at. So it's not any change of that. Like I said, in the excess of it, let's say it's a Christmas day that's on that list. They're paid for that, right? But they put in because they had their regular shift work, and it accumulated more than those hours. Is that holiday or comp? Okay, it is, okay, that's all. I just want a clarification, and that makes sense.
Right,
Gotcha.
and to be clear, that's, if CID is called in on a holiday, that's holiday time on that, added on that.
Yeah, no, I'm following that day. What I mean is later in that week, like, you know, if, say for instance, I'll just use my example, that way I can speak for, you know, facts and not an analogy that I'm trying to come up with. If I'm off on that Monday, because it's, say, Christmas, that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I put in, say, 42 hours. We had something go on, 42 hours. For that pay period, what does that look like for me? Okay. That's the clarification that I needed. So I think this is really great. I think it's a good thing for the employees. Like you said, you're trying to get them to benefit from being away from their families and working on holidays. So I think it's a great thing.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the holiday policy with the correction as Kevin has pointed out on that third from the bottom sentence.
Second.
Understand what she said? Was that acceptable?
Got a motion and a second, Judge.
I didn't hear her. All right. So we got a motion by Commissioner Eagle to approve the holiday policy, second by Commissioner Samuelson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Okay. Next, what do you want to take to the next policy? We're not going in really order here. I guess, what is it? Compensatory overtime? That's.
Let's get some low-hanging fruit here. How about workers' comp?
Sick leave.
Sick leave.
I don't care. Make a motion. Anybody?
Is there anything to discuss on the sick leave?
I didn't
Care
see
motion
anything.
on the sick leave.
I make a motion that we approve the revised sick leave policy as stated.
Motion been made by Commissioner Wilson to approve the sick leave policy.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Okay, the next one. Where are we going to go?
Workman's comp.
Workman's comp. Okay, I'm going to make a motion. I hear a motion regarding the workman's comp.
I'll make a motion that we approve the workman's comp plan.
Second.
Made by Commissioner Wilson to approve the workman's comp policy, second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Okay. Next policy. Got vacation. I hear a motion on the vacation policy.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Right, motion been made by Commissioner Andrews to approve the vacation policy as stated, second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0.
How about this FMLA minefield? Is there anything to?
Family medical leave, military leave policy. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, just pointing out that if anybody's going to be out for, did you say 3 days or longer?
Any type of medical issue that could result in the need of FMLA, it needs to be submitted.
Yeah, go ahead and get with Melissa.
And this is under federal guidelines, right?
Make a motion that we approve the FMLA package as stated.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson to approve the FMLA as stated. I hear a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Compensation guidelines.
And the overtime.
Separate ones. So would y'all hear a motion on either one of them?
I'll move to approve the compensation guidelines.
By Commissioner Eagle to approve the compensation guidelines. I hear a second. Second by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. Okay. Do Hunt.
Yep.
Got, the only thing left is the OT.
All right. Anybody want to make any motion? The only thing left is the compensatory overtime policy. Am I correct? Anybody want to?
Make the motion, I was getting everybody time to look over it, but,
What makes it so hard with the sheriff's department is, like we say, they can never budget what they're gonna give in any certain type of year. Whatever's gonna happen. They have an accident at the near or end of their shift, they just can't walk off at the end of the time like any other department can. Even road ops, I guess you can just stop at a certain time and just walk off. But sheriff's office can't. You're in the middle of an investigation, a car wreck, or drunk, or whatever, robbery. You can't do that. I think this department needs a leeway. You can't just say it's going to be a $15,000 overtime. That's just not going to work.
Having been a deputy on the street in the way back in the 80s, you know, your shift is not an 8 or 12-hour shift. It is a continual. And, you know, as was already previously stated this morning, you know, if you pick up a DUI towards the end of your shift, you will be there for, you know, several hours to finish out the processing of that. And so, you know, this is, you know, the overtime, not a free blanket, but at the same time, we need to have a policy, in my opinion, that allows for some, you know, on those kind of cases. And how we get there, I'm not sure right now, but I do, you know, think there needs to be some overtime policies for the SO.
Does this have to, Ms. Auditor, does there have to be a policy stated today prior to October 1st? It has to be one?
Our payroll starts Monday, and if I don't have this in place, I don't have anything to go off of. So I need salaries, matrix, I need policies, and it has to be done today.
So if I can just throw in a thought process here, the $60,000, $15,000 per quarter, as somebody pointed out, was based on the last 3 years. Is that correct, Commissioner Andrews?
the cumulative time there was $187,000 or whatever we paid it out.
Is that 187 about right for 3 years?
The time, it is right as far as what he's saying, that it was accumulated, that was on the books. That doesn't count for all the time that was burned up as far as getting those employees off, you know, sacrificing, putting our county down to minimum staffing.
What does burn up mean?
Meaning, hey, on a day, say if we're fully staffed, you have 8 people on patrol, and a first line supervisor, even though there's other checks throughout the whole administration to see where time's at. First line supervisor looks at it and says, hey, I've got some comp on the books. I'm going to give those people off time. Or they put in for requests. Maybe they just saw that, hey, our minimum's 5. We had this. I can take off this next Saturday that I'm scheduled to work to burn up that comp time. So
Okay.
the numbers.
So that's, to some extent, I mean, there's nothing disagreeable about that, is there?
No.
So the bigger issue with the 15,000 per quarter is that assumes that the comp time over the last 3 years was accrued equitably, and that's just not the case. We have busy times, we have slow times. So the 15,000 saying we're going to stay in this window for 4 months, or 3 months rather, that's not how that was built up over 3 years. There's natural disasters, there's things that happen, there's busy times, there's slow times. So to say that it's equitably going to happen every quarter, it's just not something that you can predict in long.
No, and I don't argue with that. I agree with that 100%. But the point I'm trying to make is that over an extended period of time, you can start seeing some sort of trend.
Yes, sir.
And we've got a trend of 187,000. There's going to be peaks and valleys. I get that. I can certainly understand, like with the $60,000 number, and then I've heard today, I don't know, I haven't confirmed it, but I've heard that the city of Granbury has this $75,000 number, which of course, and we've talked about this before, comparing the municipality with the county is not apples to apples. But whatever the case, perhaps there's some sort of, I mean, I don't know if this $60,000, $15,000 a quarter is something etched in stone, or it's just a $60,000 over the course of a year. But we got to start somewhere.
Sure.
And it's 60,000 more than we had figured in last year. And so,
May I just say, that is not anything that is addressed in this policy.
And that's true. So thank you for that. So we still need to talk about that, but it's, as has just been pointed out, it's not relevant, I guess, to this particular policy. We got to do something that's countywide. So we just need to continue this discussion, but we're making headway, I think.
I agree with you 100%. And like Lieutenant Robert brings up and you bring up, starting somewhere at a starting point, we want to see success out of it. I think our biggest thing with, again, we're a little off, but going into that is trying to say quarterly, right? Let's just look at a total amount, because certain times of the year are busier for us, right? Whether it's a summertime when people are hot and they tend to act a little more angry. I know I've seen when I'm hot, I'm a little more irritable. Certain times of the years brings on more stresses for the community. So it's one of those things where if you were to look at the time, again, we can go off statistics to be able to get a better look at it. But again, if we're just looking at a total number, I think it's going to do us service better in that way. Because in the end, regardless if the 60s spin up at 15 a quarter or 60 at the total amount throughout the year, after that's exhausted, then we still go back to a comp time. So I think if we look at that way, I think it's maybe something that helps.
And we've also got the factor, as commissioners, we're kind of stepping into some new territory here, but, we just approved this over a period of 3 years or 5 years, like $3 or $4 million on the Axion. I think you were there when that was demonstrated, and that's supposed to help. But I've been told it's a force multiplier, and so that helps. That may help with some extra time. And I understand if you're in the middle of something that you can't just walk. You're in the middle of a DWI stop or whatever, and your shift's over with. You can't just walk out. I mean, that's understandable.
Sure.
But I think that, with all things said, that we're kind of getting there, and I'm hoping that we can continue trying to get there. But I don't think we should look at it as black and white, as like this 15,000 a quarter. I'm not in agreement to look at it like that. I'd rather look at it as a pool, and let's see how it works the next year. There may be times where you instead of 15, you need 8,000. Sure. The other time you might need 26,000. I get that. I understand that. But Of course, I don't know if that's germane to this particular policy, so, are there any other questions on this?
I have a question that, since, what is the policy as far as when this time to be paid then? If we are going to go to the overtime policy, is it going to be paid in the quarter?
There's nothing in this policy that talks about paying out unless you're over your max.
Over the 480?
Right. So there's nothing, this is just changing a little bit of tweaks here and there, but nothing as far as payouts other than your max, which we're hoping you're not at again.
That would be a policy, the court decides, and there's a line in there in that paragraph above work week that says the Hood County Commissioners Court reserves the right to pay down hours of comp liability. That would fall under that, but that's the only thing that's pertinent to that
October
particular
1, we're still on a comp time policy?
Yes.
Okay.
So.
We can't take away your comp at all,
No, I
ever.
understand. I'm just saying as far as, so I can go back and tell the employees if they're going to be expecting to get an overtime on their check or not starting October 1st.
Okay, on page 2 of the policy, overtime during declaration of disaster, is there any money set aside for that in the budget for a disaster? And if so, how much? Because right now it says, in the event of a disaster, you know, the employees are eligible for, but not guaranteed additional compensation in lieu of compensatory time accrued.
And nothing has changed on that either. That's the same as it has been previously. So I'm assuming if we had a disaster, we would take it out of contingency.
Right.
Yeah, and if there was a disaster, we would be under a disaster declaration, and we're under a different set of.
Everything in
I
black
understand
is
that, but
everything
is
that
there
was
any-
already there. Red, we struck out, yellow was added. So everything in black was already there.
And I think we have to be careful how we address that because of FEMA regulations. It cannot appear we have already prepared for a disaster, or we may not get funding if we do have a disaster.
There's currently no overtime budgeted for the sheriff's office. Dispatch has a bucket, which they've always had, so we did not budget for overtime. That is something that the rules. The way I understood it was the court would decide quarterly how they wanted to approach that with the sheriff's office. Right. There is no policy that states that, it was just a conversation.
So getting back on point, Commissioner Andrews, did you make a motion to approve this overtime policy? And I'll second that.
Commissioner Andrews, if you don't mind me real quick. Yesterday with the discussions that we had, is this where it outlines which time is pulled before which your other time banks, or is that in each individual policy, each individual?
I think I don't think that the usage of comp time, is it in this one?
And it's each individual. So sick policy, it's stated that way. Comp time, it's pretty much stated that way.
So again, I apologize because I haven't, other than what's being presented up here today, I didn't have anything to go over. That would be my question is I understand comp time is always the first thing we're going to pull. But in all those other times, it specifies in those other policies, like if hypothetically tomorrow I'm sick, right? I think, we talked about it yesterday. If I'm sick hypothetically, if I have comp on the books or if I have vacation time, either one of those will be pulled before a sick day?
No,
No?
no, the sick policy, if you're sick.
You're sick?
Sick.
Okay, so we clarify, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right,
Comp,
yes,
okay.
sorry, yeah.
All right,
Comp and sick.
okay.
Jeff had something he wanted to say.
Sorry, I just wanted to grab coattails before they disappeared. On that first screen, I noticed that the line public safety was deleted and put as law enforcement. I just wanted to throw out a quick reminder. I have one employee that this applies to. It would not apply to me because I'm salary, of course, but I have my one deputy who is full-time, who's got the day off today as it is already burning holiday time so he doesn't lose it. In the past, we've made, and I don't want to be a speed bump for the sheriff's office by any means, but in the past, we've made great gains to improve at the sheriff's office, and then I've got to come back and fight for something equal to that for my one deputy. So I just wanted to remind you guys that I do have one who is law enforcement, who, whatever the policy changes that are made, that it applies to him as well, and that the fire marshal's office doesn't get overlooked and forgotten about when the policies are done.
Okay, a motion been made by Commissioner Eagle to approve Andrews, to approve the compensatory overtime policy, second by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Nay. So the ayes have it 3-2. Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break. discuss, I guess, item number 2. Discuss and take appropriate action to improve the base salary tied to the Hood County matrix and improve incentive pay for eligible employees. Commissioner Andrews, you want to take a stab at that?
What we did there is moved the pay and step 1 last year. We multiplied it by 10%, moved it to step 2, created a new step 1. Step 2, multiplied by 10%, moved it to step 3. And then compensation time made up incentive pay made up the difference between the step and the 10%. That's on the clerical, custodians, technicians, animal control schedule there that you got before you. On law enforcement, what we did is multiplied everybody's salary by 10%. Thought we were, well, I sure thought I was trying to get moving in a positive direction here there's a couple of things. Our starting salaries are absolutely in line with the counties around us, but the top out was different. So trying to open the bracket up a little bit and get higher on the top out. So move everybody up a step and then have a new starting pay there for your first years. That was my idea. And then, so the rest of them were mostly that same thing. Law enforcement or the jail did the same situation. So that would apply there too. Created a new step 1 for the jailers. They have corporal sergeants in the first year. So moved those steps out, created a new starting pay there. Dispatch, we had a kind of a last minute change there on dispatch. The first asterisk is we had somebody that was a 13-year employee. Was she 13? I think she was 13-year employee that was willing to step up to that supervisor position. So that asterisk there gives her a salary increase to do that supervisor position there. And then since the other day, we created this operations manager because he wanted to reclassify Tyler Brown over there. So we put the operations manager matrix in there for Tyler. So those are the little changes that we had to make to accommodate here toward the end of the year.
The only question I have about all of this is back up to the top, the recruit. Before we can have a recruit, we have to have a full deputy slot. The recruit position pays less than the jail, so I guess I'll never be able to promote somebody out of the jail to send them to school, and probably won't be able to hire anybody off the street to send them to school. So
where do you think that needs to be?
Within a couple thousand of starting pay of the first year deputy at least, and then move them up when they graduate, move them up to the starting pay. But yeah, the recruit pay, that 51.7, that believed even a few years ago, but here we are. But down at the jail, which we've taken a lot of people out of the jail, they're 52.5. So I won't even be able to recruit anybody that has a few years' time in the jail.
Policy states if they transfer from the jail, they do not lose pay.
Right.
They come over at their pay.
Okay, well, that I didn't know that, because like one of my guys that came over, went to the pay we had last year, or this year, before you vote that in. And he was struggling really hard because he was a lieutenant and got bumped back to recruit pay. That's why I've been trying to get that up. If there's that in the policy, I guess I'd like to see that and have that. So that'll help me with recruiting out of the jail.
So what is a recruit?
Somebody that we've hired to fill a deputy spot, but we're sending them to the academy.
So they don't know nothing other than whatever their age is and their world experience.
Yeah, we call them over pretty good and to look through those applications. And so we're picking somebody that we believe is part of the way there. We had, last year we got a parole guy, and he didn't work out, but anyway, so he's already been in law enforcement. So anyway, if that policy is in fact there, I hadn't seen it, then we'll be able to take them out of the jail. But otherwise, I don't know if we'll be able to hire anybody from outside that's not in law enforcement to push them ahead. And we get those kind of applications all the time. Sometimes they get weeded out because, well, yeah, I didn't use meth since last week, or marijuana from 2 or 3 weeks ago. So that's easy to call them out. But we do have a few that are definitely worthy, but they make more than what we had in the past. So,
but again, a recruit is a person they apply because they always wanted to be in law enforcement or what have you, and you call through your applicants and decide on somebody that you feel like has the potential, and then the county spends money to send them turn them into certified law enforcement. Is that right?
That's correct. And we don't hire a recruit unless we have an open deputy position.
Okay.
So we have a position that's open, and we have one now. So it's really covered at that base pay. But so in years past when we did that, we had a couple thousand.
Goes over to become a deputy as a recruit, he gets the same salary that he was making at the jail?
That's correct. The court put that in policy last year.
Okay.
Yeah, wasn't aware of that. So.
And I have another example of a recruit, John Hurley, because I just went through the same process with John Hurley. He's been with the county for 16 years, and I wouldn't say that he knows nothing because he spent a lot of that time in dispatch. So with 16 years of the county and being in this and all of that, he was done at a recruit salary just so that he could get his TCOL certificate.
Okay.
So he doesn't have a lot of years as a law enforcement officer, but he has been in the business for a minute.
Okay, and I get that, but the bottom line is a recruit is somebody that we're
hiring to be a full-time.
hired to become a law enforcement.
Correct.
And there's exceptions as far as different levels of their prior experience.
Yes.
But they still got to go get certified and do the stuff to get that.
Correct. We're sending them to school to get a TCOL number.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And if it's a lateral move for a jailer, then don't have as much problem with that, right?
Now, I must have been asleep in the back last year when that got passed or something. I hadn't seen it. So yeah, if I could laterally move them over, then that would make a difference there for getting the people out of the jail. But still, that's kind of low if I'm going to hire somebody off the street. Because should I go to Granbury PD? Should I go to somewhere in Tarrant County or something like that? Then that's hard to attract people when it's that low. And we've already got a spot for an opening, so it's not like we're not don't have the money already allocated. So
are you having a problem right now to attract a recruit, or are you even looking for one right now?
Oh, we're always looking, but I wasn't going to try to hire anybody till we got this all set in stone again. So
okay, thank you.
So we've been mostly looking.
Would 65 there be enough? Is that?
Yeah, that'd be worthwhile, and then move them up to deputy when they finish the academy. Yeah. I'd be open for that.
Position, so if that's
how much did you say, Commissioner?
Is that? Yeah, I mean, that,
And the
I'm sorry,
position
what
is
did you,
open.
Kevin, what did you say? Commissioner Andrews?
I said, would 65 be enough in
Well, I
that
thought you said
recruit?
55.
No, 65, in that recruit slot. That way, whenever they get finished with the academy, they'd come out and go up to 68.5, but they still have that empty position while they're going to academy.
Yeah, and I'd be open to that.
I think any increase is definitely needed because that is a hiring incentive when other agencies are out there giving all these types of, percentage, sign-on bonuses and things like that. We're just wanting to be able to tell that person as a recruiting thing, hey, we're at least bringing you in at the same rate. Maybe they don't start on the matrix so much at that point until they're out. Some other agencies out there, they do recruitment pay, so there it's a few $1,000s less. On the recruitment side of it, I know we're into the salary side of it. Does this play into effect with that? Because they're at the leniency of the academy at that point in time. So there may be days that they have a regular week and then they go do a firearms week. And because of the hours that they put in, they accumulate comp. I have recruits that come out of the academy with comp time. So does that play on top of your base salary on that? Are they going to accumulate just like any other employee to pay off their comp? Yeah. No, they'll have comp. I got, right now, McNeil is in the academy. You can look at his comp and see, but that's been something over the last couple of years because of the extended of trying to get in all of this classwork that they've extended the hours out. And so they're, on the clock, if you will, because it's a Monday for like a day academy. It's a Monday through Friday. And then every once in a while they'll throw in a Saturday and Sunday or just a Saturday. So it was just something to think about. Is that going to be on
In other
top of
words,
something?
pay them while they're in school.
Yeah.
I wish somebody had paid me when I went to school.
Well, if they are earning comp during that,
It'll be
once they
part of
get the
that.
position changed, they do get the paid out
Okay.
comp anyways. So
Okay.
any money change, if it's not a lateral move, it gets paid out.
Okay. All right, but, yeah.
I'll propose that if that makes the thing.
To approve the salary matrix with the exception of increasing the recruit from 51.7 to 65. Second.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Andrews to approve the salary Hood County matrix and incentive pay for eligible employees with the exception of increasing the recruit pay from 51.7 to 65,000. Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is that, did you vote, Commissioner Eagle?
Yes, sir. Everybody, you got 5-0.
Motion carries unanimously 5-0. That'll help you out there, Sheriff Wallen. Okay. All right. Next item is discuss and take appropriate action to make corrections to the salary matrix. That's you in the box again.
Well, heck, I think I went over what we talked about there a minute ago was the few little.
I'm sorry, which one? Where?
A few little
You
adjustments
lost
that we
me.
had.
Did we? Never mind. Sorry. Had a senior moment. Go ahead.
So I think that's presented on the matrix that we just approved, or those little.
And then the personnel action forms that everyone received a copy of also ties to this matrix.
Yeah.
And the incentive process.
Yeah. What is I didn't print the agenda. Let me pull it up. So what do we need to do here? I'm confused.
You approve salaries last court. This court breaks it up for salary and incentive to match the matrix.
Gotcha.
So these employees are the step and grade with their incentive.
Okay,
Which is tied to number 2 of the
Yeah.
agenda.
okay.
Which I think we did it backwards, but
All right, so, I
So
guess
the
the motion.
personnel, yeah, the personal action forms that Melissa sent us has 2 lines for every employee. It shows their base salary and then their incentive on the second line. Right, Melissa?
So with that, I'll make a motion to approve the PAFs as presented.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Andrews to approve corrections to the salary matrix, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries unanimously, 5-0. And that concludes this special called meeting. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.